along the Croatian Adriatic coast, there are places that are on must-see list of most travelers and tourists in the region. One of them is the town of Korčula, located in the south of the country on the island of the same name. So the town of Korčula on the island of Korčula. It is a small medieval town, romantically located on a peninsula and surrounded by walls, of which only parts remain today. Beautiful old staircases still lead to the main entrance, and further through the cobblestone streets towards the Cathedral of St. Mark at the top. Today, there are restaurants, charming souvenir shops, and especially many jewelry stores all around the old town. This charm, however, has been recognized by many, so Korčula is often full of guests. There are few hotels in town itself, but a large part of guests arrive by small boats, and some are staying in hotels on the other side of the sea channel in a place that can be seen in a distance on the right. That's Orebić, much less famous today, but in the past it was one of the largest maritime centers on the Adriatic. So let's take a look at what remains of that, and I also hope for a more peaceful atmosphere. This rocky land is not another island, but the Pelješac Peninsula. You wouldn't think so looking from here, but it is famous for its vineyards, which are located a little bit further east. The hill we see is called Sveti Ilija, or Saint Elijah. For those keen on hiking, there is a marked trail to the top. And for those looking for some more adrenaline, the channel between Pelješac and Korčula is popular for windsurfing and kiteboarding. From the sea, in the middle of the hill, we can see the church. Our Lady of the Angels is a Franciscan church with the monastery and the old cemetery built in the late 15th century or 1400s. Further along the coast, there are hotels, just outside the town of Orebić. On the edge of the town is also the port, from which tourists go to Korčula. So many don't even enter into the oldest part of Orebić, and that's really a shame. The old part of town follows the coast and is designed along this beautiful promenade. At the first glance, the architecture is typical of Dalmatia, stone construction. There are several quarries in the area, so that was always a logical material. Buildings are of different sizes, from small family houses to this former school building, now a boutique family hotel Adriatic. But when you look a little bit more closely, you can see that some architecture is a bit different. The houses along the promenade are often much larger than it was typical for small coastal towns, and in front of each one there is a garden. These are captains' houses, mostly from the 19th century, that to this day demonstrate the former high standard of living in town. For few centuries, Orebić has been a center of merchant navy. The peak of development was in the 19th century when they had 90 sailing ships. At that time, about 2,000 sailors and 250 captains lived in the town and its surroundings. Each captain was also a co-owner of a ship, and some families were big ship owners. Altogether, it was a wealthy community. Today, as we walk through this peaceful town, it's hard to imagine all this, and it's logical to ask what happened. Unfortunately, they were not ready for a change. They were used to doing business with sailing ships, and throughout the 19th century, steamships took over the business. In Orebić, they turned a blind eye to this and continued to invest in obviously outdated technology. At the end of the century, in 1891, they experienced a complete financial collapse. Local captains continued to sail the seas, but mostly on other people's ships. As a reminder of the old glory, the captain's houses remain. Some are still in good condition, and they are easy to recognize from old photos. Some are today used as tourist accommodation. Some are just getting a facelift. Unfortunately, some can be saved only by a serious investors. What they have in common is the garden in front of the house. Sometimes it's smaller, just a few trees. Sometimes it's a large garden full of trees. And in some cases, it's hard to see where the house is because of the dense vegetation. These gardens served as shelter from the sun, but also from the neighbors. And they were at the same time as a status symbol, because not everyone could afford it. Today, all this is connected by a promenade that is full of flowers in May. The lush trees everywhere contribute to the atmosphere. Lemons, oranges, figs, but also impressive old pines, and the occasional palm tree. There used to be many more of them, but about 15 years ago, 2 types of insects imported to Europe with infected plants began to attack palms across the Mediterranean. Unfortunately, many simply dried up. Traces of this are visible here in Orebić as well, but a few still stand proudly, and the most beautiful ones are in the private garden at the end of the promenade. May is also the time of flowering of Pittosporum. The small flowers on these bushes and trees spread a beautiful fragrance throughout the region. Here they are all over town, and in some places even along the beach. A perfect natural shelter in the summer when the beaches attract guests for vacation. This was filmed in early May, so the beaches are still deserted. The largest local beach, Trstenica, is located on a very edge of town. But these along the promenade also look very inviting. There is small pebbles at the entrance to the water. And when you enter the water, you will mostly find pebbles as well. Sometimes larger stones and rarely sand. The Croatian coast is naturally such that there are no sandy beaches several kilometers or miles long. Sand is generally an exception, although there are a smaller number of sandy beaches as well. We locals are used to pebbles. We believe that on them the sea is cleaner, and take walk to the water as a foot massage. Talking about beaches, I have to say these are brave swimmers. The water is still quite cold in May, around 16 Celsius or 60 Fahrenheit. That's far from summery 23-24 Celsius or 73 to 75 Fahrenheit. But the sun is already warm, and spending time by the water is very pleasant. Beaches are prepared for the season. Tourism is now main economy in town. After the collapse of the naval fleet, many families in Orebić eventually started to engage in tourism, offering accommodation and boat transport for tourists. In the 1930s, on the nearby beach, the Hotel Bellevue was built. It was out of town, almost in the middle of nowhere. Around, just nature, sea view, and the sound of crickets. In this very isolated place at the time, guests, very often from Austria and Germany, came to enjoy the untouched nature and good wine, or they would go to a trip to Korčula in small boats. Luckily, all that can still be enjoyed. Orebić has preserved its peaceful atmosphere. Even Bellevue Hotel is still there, today as a comfortable 4-star hotel. Back home, I'm watching few more photos. And yes, Orebić was for me a very pleasant surprise. Nicely calm in spring sun, with that great walk along the beach, interesting architecture and stunning vegetation. It's definitely worth a visit. Beaches are of course just a plus for the summer. I hope that you liked the town and the video. If so, please press the like button. Till some other place, thank you for watching and greetings from Daria.